Let's welcome in 670 The Score's Lawrence Holmes. You can hear him weekdays from 2 to 6 o'clock on Spiegel and Holmes. Lawrence, Ben Johnson, and Ryan Poles put a bow on the 2025 season with their end-of-season press conferences this week. What were your takeaways from hearing from the head coach and general manager after making it to the divisional?
I thought that it was pretty clear that what we saw was Ben Johnson being in charge of this franchise. And I don't mean that as a slight to Ryan Poles. I think it shows tremendous character on his part to kind of sublimate his own ego, to understand that the lead football voice of the Bears should probably be Ben Johnson. And he's earned that right. So that was the first thing that kind of jumped out to me, that it wasn't what we're used to seeing at end of season Bears press conferences where everyone's kind of lined up and there's a lot of talk about how things are going to get better. This was in some ways a little bit of a celebration of what the season was, the development of Caleb Williams, and then Ben continuing to kind of carve out and make his vision be something that everyone can understand. So I really thought from that standpoint, they knocked it out of the park with that, like putting him up front. And over the last season, Ryan Poles kind of being more in the background as those two guys have built their partnership.
How did your view of Ryan Poles change, though, over the course of this season? Remember when he was extended, everyone's like, really, we're going to give this extension to a guy who is below 500 and hasn't made the playoffs and fired a coach midseason for the first time in team history. And then suddenly all these rookies start producing. You get the head coach right. And Ryan Poles starts to look like the smart guy in all this, too.
Yeah, I think that when you find the right partners inside of any enterprise, it can be helpful. Like, for example, I think that Kevin Warren played a huge role in this too. And this is not anything that anyone's told me, it's just kind of paying attention to it. That part of the reason that Kevin Warren was brought in was to bring structure to the Bears as an organization. And when you look back at the coaching search last year, they had that. For the first time ever, the Bears seemed like they were a buttoned up organization. And I think that was part of Kevin Warren's doing. And again, like sublimating your own ego to go, sure, there are things that I can learn about this process. Here's what I learned the last time, if you're Ryan Poles, and then apply that to this search, and you end up with the number one candidate. I think that he's taken a huge step forward in a lot of people's eyes. And because of, one, that part of it, and then Cassie, the second part to me is allowing your coaches to make decisions instead of you pushing roster decisions on them. It's clear that Ben had a role in what they did at the top of the draft last year. It's clear that DA had a role in them bringing in CJ Gardner-Johnson. Those moves ended up being huge moves for the Bears and the outcome of this season. And if you don't have a GM that understands, hey, now that we've spent, $14 million a year on a coach, we should probably let him do his thing and then build off of that.
They already lost Eric Bieniemy, who goes back to Kansas City as their offensive coordinator. Defensive backs coach Al Harris interviewing for the Packers and Commanders open defensive coordinator jobs. Declan Doyle talking to Philly to become their offensive coordinator. In your eyes, which one of these guys would be the biggest loss to Ben Johnson's staff?
I think that Al Harris would be, because we saw that him change the culture defensively, that he's the guy that got them on the idea of the takeaways and the importance of it, to the point where those guys began to covet it. It became a thing for them. And it was fun to watch. They had the cage of all of the takeaways that they had and throwing the ball in there. It's that type of thing that, for a defense that struggled when it came to giving up yards, they were bend but don't break, and they were able to do that because when it came to it, they would take the ball away. And if you've got the ability to take the ball away, and I saw this from my time of covering Lovie Smith teams, they drilled it. It became a thing. And Cassie, when it first started, when we were covering the team, we didn't know what was going on because Bears defenders were picking up incomplete passes and returning them. And it's because Lovie Smith and his staff they wanted those guys to understand that the takeaway game was a big part of it. The numbers that Lovie Smith would throw out about if you were a +2 and a +3, how it was almost a 90% win if you were able to do that. So seeing this spin forward 20 years and Al Harris being kind of the directing and guiding light on this is big. And I think that it's going to be hard to find someone who has that experience and is able to talk to those guys in that way. I also think he is worthy of getting these opportunities. And I'll throw another name out there that's not out there, but I've been talking about this on the radio show. I'd be shocked if Antoine Randall doesn't get an interview for the Steelers head coaching job. Shocked. Just considering how the Steelers feel about giving minority candidates opportunities. The Rooney Rule has been a big fixture of their family for a long time. And this is someone who is at the associate head coach level already. It's someone who played with them, that won a Super Bowl. So that guy, I think when you hear Ben talking about, I have guys on my staff that I expect to be head coaches, there are a lot of people around the NFL who feel like Antoine Randall is one of those people.
Yeah, definitely, too, because I think he was the coach on Fridays who he would stand up in front of team meetings and share the message going into the weekend. And that's someone, as you mentioned, Ben Johnson is credited with so much. With Declan Doyle, you know, he was kind of the workhorse behind Ben Johnson, organized a lot of things, not calling offensive plays. He is interviewing in Philly. So is Matt Nagy. Would you like to see Declan Doyle or Matt Nagy be the offensive coordinator of the Eagles?
Something's wrong in Philly because too many people have already turned that job down. Like I thought that Mike McDaniel would be a really good fit for them, but something's not right, and I don't know what it is. And some people are throwing it on Jalen Hurts, and I don't think that that's what it is. But they've got to figure some stuff out. That would be a really interesting place for Declan to have his first opportunity to call plays.
Cutthroat.
But yeah, right. Yeah, like you need to be in a winning mode right now. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, your window is open over the next couple of years when you start looking at the contracts that they have on the books. For Matt Nagy, I think it's really interesting that we've gone from there being a bunch of pieces about him and maybe people expecting him to get a head coaching job, and it could still happen. There's still openings out there, to now him interviewing for a job that he theoretically had under Andy Reid. And so to see them quickly move to getting Eric Bieniemy and his voice and his style back into Chiefs Kingdom, if I'm Matt Nagy, I'm like, oh, this might be a game of musical chairs, and I could end up not having a chair when the music stops.
Crazy to think about. That's why the NFL becomes 24/7 as soon as the season ends. Ben Johnson, he is one of 5 finalists for AP Coach of the Year alongside Liam Cohen, Mike McDonald, Kyle Shanahan, and Mike Vrabel. I really don't think he stands a chance to win this because of what Vrabel has done with the Patriots in his first season, and Drake May. I think he is probably the most deserving. But when we talk about Ben Johnson changing the culture in Chicago, and then you hear him say yesterday that the foundation that he laid in his first season won't carry over to next season because they start at the bottom. Do you buy into that, or do you think he has carried or set a foundation that will sustain over years to come?
I think that the platform that he has built for the Bears is great, and it's a great place to start. I love hearing him talk about how there is no momentum from one year to the other, and all you have to do is look around the NFL this season. I'm sure Washington thought that they had incredible momentum going into this season. Yeah. Same thing with Detroit. Same thing with Kansas City. There's a bunch of teams out there that were poised to be championship teams built on what it was that they were last year. And then lifes, things happen. Guys get hurt. Guys become free agents. Guys leave coaching staffs. Like all of those things, whether it was Ben Johnson or Cole Kmet or Kevin Byard that said it, the idea of, this locker room is not going to be the same is legitimate. It's already changed. Eric Bieniemy is already out the door. And that's someone who helped to create the personality of the run game. And we know the run game was a big part of the Bears' success. So I like that there is a steely-eyed view by Ben Johnson about how this is supposed to work. That this is something that that you can't just rest on your laurels, that you have to keep pushing and pressing. And yeah, guys will know how things work because it'll be year two, the ones that stuck around. And there will be some of those players that will be able to kind of get new players or rookies ready because they'll be in year two of Ben's program. But projecting out what a Bears team next season is going to look like, to me, has always been folly, because you don't know what the injury report for week one is. And until you do, it's hard to make judgments on what they're going to be. But yes, all of the things of a successful head coach have been placed here by Ben Johnson. And I love the way that he has embraced it, that he has embraced a toughness. I love the stories. You're one of the people that would tell us about how hard those training camp practices were for Caleb Williams. And the fact that they wanted to press him and put pressure on him so that they could get the best version, that's going to continue. And now you get to the end of that journey and you have Ben Johnson saying he's the number one believer in Caleb Williams. That's powerful stuff. He has gained a lot of trust inside the building at Hallis Hall. He's gained a ton of trust from Chicago Bears fans, and him embracing it, him wanting to be an ambassador for Bears football, like the good, better, best stuff, the Wiener Circle stuff, taking the shirt off in the locker room, him being at Cubs games in the fall, like in the early fall, as they were getting ready for the playoffs, like all of this stuff, he has really made himself a Chicagoan. And I think that along with the excellence that he has brought about leads you to believe that the Bears are in a great spot.
You know, I like that Ryan Poles even brought up the fans yesterday, because he said he was getting texts from family members when they would land at O'Hare, seeing all the Bears gear around the airport. And he's like, you know, we don't often acknowledge that part of this job when they're in the front office, when they're on the coaching staff. But he said, like, part of their job is to inspire a fan base and inspire a community. And I think it's okay to show that human side when you are on the team. Like, that's part of the totality of what it's like to be a Chicago Bear, especially in a city like Chicago, that, as we saw, it was on display this entire season. When the Bears are good, this city is so different. And so I actually appreciated that he acknowledged the difference that they made in the community.
I've talked to people that say when the Bears are good, Chicago is the best city in the world.
Yeah.
Like, that's how powerful it can be when the Bears are good. The Packers game, I had so many friends from around the country, folks that I hadn't talked to in years, text me because they were up watching the game. And the Bears have leaned into that, as they should. The sleeping giant part of the Bears as an organization is not just the fact that it's a franchise that's close to, $10 billion or whatever. Part of it is that fan base is so rabid. People care. And the way that they cared, I joked about it on my podcast, House of L, that the way that Bears fans love is really amazing. And the Bears got to see that this year in a way that I don't think that even if you go back to the end of Justin Fields' tenure, where the fans are cheering for Justin because they're like, this is probably the last time that we're going to see him, right? But they wanted him to know that they had appreciated what he had done. And now you multiply that by 100.
Yeah.
That's what we saw over the last couple of weeks, where even after they lose the playoff game to the Rams, Bears fans are there. They are giving the team a standing ovation. And that connection, you know how I know that it means a lot? Because the next 2 days, Caleb Williams was out here in these streets, and he was feeling that love at the Blackhawks game, and he was feeling that love at the Bulls game. And the love of Bears fans is undeniable. And for the Bears organizationally to get to that place is a great first step for Ben Johnson.
All right, Lawrence, you look at the free agents the Bears have on their roster currently. I think mainly people are eyeing Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker. I don't believe you can keep both. I would imagine you're either going to get one or the other. Who would you prioritize in that scenario?
Oh, it's so rough. Jaquan Brisker, I thought, one, he stayed healthy all year. Two, you look at the impact that he had in playoff games. I've always liked him as a player. When he got drafted, I said he's a bigger version of Bob Sanders, who was a huge factor for the Indianapolis Colts. The problem was that he wasn't always healthy, and that was similar to Jaquan because he plays with reckless abandon. Kevin Byard, his leadership, like he's got so much added value. Like he's taken the ball away, and you saw how smart he was. He would bait quarterbacks into interceptions. And then this is one of your guys. Like this is him buying into Ben Johnson was significant. And him with a guy that's got that type of resume, him being able to buy in and bring other people along on the buy-in, I think is great. And so the question becomes where Jaquan's younger and with Kevin, are you paying for the stuff that he did this season, and can you project that he can still do that? Do you feel comfortable? How long of a deal would you put together for him? You're probably right that they can only keep one of those guys because you're going to spend some money. I would probably lean Byard, but it would be very close because Jaquan Brisker, if deployed right, and I think he's in the right defense now with Dennis Allen, that guy can be an absolute menace.
Lawrence, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Anytime, Cassie.